to explain how to teach your youngsters about money is educator and author of some 78 children's books, Joy Wiltberry. Joy, nice to have you. How important is it that we teach our kids about money?
Anything that children come in contact with, they need to understand. They need to understand and they need to become responsible for it. So, I mean, they're surrounded by money. They need to know about it.
All right. I'm just curious. If one was to leave a youngster, I mean, the old expression, if you don't teach him the value of a dollar now, he'll never know it down the line.
It's true.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think you can start too early. And, of course, the way we advocate getting children involved with money is through basically the allowance system. And it's kind of an interesting approach that we take to an allowance system. We advocate that an allowance is somewhat a percentage of a family's income. It's based on percentage. It's based on what the child is going to be expected to buy, and also what his ability is in managing money, and then also what his community offers children for an allowance. Now,
You mean his peer group?
Yeah. Now, he doesn't just get that for free.
Yes.
He has to put something back into the system that's giving him something.
Mm-hmm.
He has to, first of all, take care of himself. He has to clean up after himself. And he also has to contribute something to the system. I mean, actually give something to that family, and then he's entitled to an allowance.
What's the point of basing the allowance on the income of the parent?
Because if it's good, if the family income is good, then the kid, shares in that. And if it's bad, he also shares in that. And it's much more realistic and much more fair. Another thing is, it's so very important. Now, the allowance system is only one thing. Obviously, if he's wanting to spend more money than his allowance provides,
Mm-hmm.
then he has the option of generating income on his own. I mean, he can go out and get work.
And get a little job somewhere.
And then gifts are a source of income.
All right. Do you advocate a budget?
Oh, absolutely.
For youngsters?
Absolutely. And I think one of the best ways of teaching children about budgeting is bringing them in on the family budget. And, I think it's so important, especially in today's time when we are struggling financially,
Mm-hmm.
and our kids are gimme, 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 gimme. He's got it. Why can't I? And all this stuff is lots of pressure for us. And it's very important for them to see why we can't give them just everything they want. And even for young children, we advocate in your family meetings, when you sit down and figure out that monthly budget, say, okay, here's what our income is. Okay, we've got the rent, we've got the car payment, we've got this, we've got this. Now we've got X amount of money. What are we going to do with that? And when we bring those children in on that process, they become more responsible to it and with it. Do you know what I'm saying there?
No, I know what you're saying, but I wonder, in times like this, is it a good idea, if a family is really struggling, is it a good idea to have the children in on that?
Excellent
and
question.
have them
That's a good question.
Be totally aware of what the situation is.
A lot of people say to me, my whole business is getting children responsible.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe in getting children into consumerism and law and all the things that surround them. And people say, gee, Joy, aren't you really rushing kids a little bit? Aren't you getting them too responsible, too young? But listen, if a child is living it, if he's coping with it, we are doing an injustice if we don't give him the skills to do it intelligently. Because what he does is he mismanages that,
Mm-hmm.
and he brings pain and hurt in his life, and he makes, sometimes irreparable damage in his life that he carries on with him into adulthood. You know darn good and well he's affected by that family budget, isn't he?
Certainly he is.
So why shouldn't he then be responsible to it and with it and for it?
All right, but if he does have a concern, if he says, gee, Mom, Dad, we're going down the tubes here.
Is it any worse than what the parents are going through?
No, I understand that.
Yeah.
But what do you say to him? Because perhaps the pal that he runs around with,
because
this family's in great
you tell him
shape.
the truth. I'm big on
But I'm saying
honesty.
go beyond
Yeah.
it. The psychology involved of,
Yeah.
yes, we are in trouble. What do you say to him? Yes, we are in trouble, but don't worry. Mom and Dad will take care of you. There has to be some reassurance in there
Or
also.
how about this? Instead of Mom and Dad are going to take care of it, we're going to do this together as a team. We're going to pull together. You can add something to this family situation too, and you can make it easier because you can help us so that we can work harder, and you can contribute something emotionally by not continually asking for things that we would love to give you but can't. Listen, I believe that children should be much more responsible in the parent-child relationship. We have taken too much of the dump, and these kids have had a free ride, and we're starting to get resentful. And I think that it's
parents are starting to get resentful.
Absolutely. I think it's time for these children to become much more participating in the relationship and assume much more responsibility. I know this is really a heavy-duty kind of approach.
I see it as as an important addendum to growing up, learning to manage money. But I really question how involved they should get when a family is really in rough times. Now, I think it's just equally as important for the family that's making a tremendous amount of money to be just as conscious and aware that their children have the same sense of money.
Let me explain something to you. What you're not realizing is that they are being affected by the fact that you're experiencing tough times. The only thing, by not talking about it, they're not able to deal with it intelligently because it's not out on the table and we're not working together as a team. So they feel out of control. They feel as though they have, that there's this thing happening to them and there's nothing they can do about it. How much more wonderful it is to say, we're bringing you in on this. You're going to be part of the problem solution here, and we're going to work on this together, and we're going to make it through. See, they experience the truth. Why can't we talk to them about it?
Well, I just see adults being barely able to handle the truth today. And I wonder if we're not interrupting that wonderful period in our lives. I guess the question is here, how much responsibility do we give them?
Ignorance is not bliss. And you and I probably have a lot of difficulty talking to our kids about these things because nobody talked to us about it when we were kids. And we never really learned to deal with life realistically and intelligently. You know, there's a beauty in honesty and realism. There really is. And there's a real security in knowing what is really and dealing with it on that basis, and not the fantasies that we shroud children in. I mean, this business of kids being buns cooking in the oven, they're not quite finished and we're going to shelter them, and we tap them on the shoulder at the age 12 and say, now it's time for you to really live your life. Hey, they've been living it all along. And we need to equip them, you know, honestly, with integrity and sensitivity to do it, you know, the right way with responsibility.
Well,
same with money.
Certainly learning the value of a dollar is a step in the right direction as far as that's concerned. Thank you very much, Joy.
Thank you. Be back.